as we continue our coverage of the Egyptian Senate 2025 elections with all our correspondents from Now TV International across all the governorates in Egypt. We're now delighted to be joined by Now TV's international correspondent Ahmed Nader, reporting live from the National Elections Authority headquarters. Ahmed, it's a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you, Angie. Hello, Amal.
Ahmed, tell us a bit about some of the recent updates you have from the National Elections Authority as you are at their headquarters with just about 5.5 hours to go before the closing of the polling stations across Egypt.
Yes, I can give you an update of what happened at 10 a.m. Cairo local time. As you mentioned, I am at the headquarters of the National Elections Authority in downtown Cairo, Qasr Al Aini Street, near Tahrir Square.
Yes.
And we have seen the first press conference for today, for the second and final day for the Egyptians residing here in Egypt and voting and participating in the Senate elections for 2025 and until 2030 for the upcoming round. As I mentioned in my last feed, it began with the appreciation of Councillor Ahmed Binderi, the head of the Executive Committee of the National Elections Authority, of the sacrifices and the efforts of the judges, the councillors, the staff, the civil servants, and everyone who is related to the electoral process in 8,825 polling stations all over Egypt, because today we have heard that one of the councillors, one of the judges had lost his father, but he still got to the polling station and he continued working yesterday.
Yes.
As we did see today as well, Councillor Ahmed Binderi checking up on Councillor Dalia Yusuf from Al Munufiyya Governorate, more specifically in Sirs Al Layan and Munuf center in Al Munufiyya Governorate. As I mentioned in my previous feed,
yes,
she was injured yesterday. A fan fell on her head, but she still went to work yesterday, and she went today as well. And we did see the meeting, the online meeting, or the virtual meeting that took place through the video conference between Councillor Binderi and Councillor Dalia Hilmi. So this is outlining the efforts of the National Elections Authority, the members of the National Elections Authority and the judiciary in general, to be participating in overlooking and monitoring the polling stations and participating in the Senate elections for 2025. Speaking about one of the updates that took place at 10 p.m. Cairo local time, and one of the meetings that took place online between Councillor Binderi and Councillor Karim Qandil. He was accompanying a number of delegates, or a delegation of observers in the governorate of Al Giza, and one of them was the Jordanian observer engineer Musa Al Maiti. He spoke with Councillor Binderi and he told him about touring a number of governorates, and more specifically Cairo and Giza, Greater Cairo in general. He had visited a number of schools, a number of polling stations, very randomly, and he said that he was accompanied as well by a number of delegates from the African Union, and we have seen a number of them here at the headquarters of the National Elections Authority, the African Union observers. He toured several stations and he mentioned that there were no problems whatsoever. The voting process was smooth, and this gave us a positive feedback of what happened here in Egypt in terms of the Senate elections over the past couple of days on the 4th and the 5th. And we did see the success of the Senate elections for the expatriates on the 1st and the 2nd of August as well, but outside of Egypt. One important statement in the meeting that took place between Councillor Ahmed Binderi and Engineer Musa Al-Maiti was about the turnout. Engineer Al-Maiti, he mentioned that there was a high turnout for the Egyptians in the polling stations that he had visited, and he also stated that there is a good number of observers from all over the world that had requested and participated, and they were granted permission to be observing the Senate elections in 2025, and more specifically from the African Union. Yesterday we had an interview with the ambassador of Venezuela, a number of Argentinian observers, observers from the United States of America, from Africa, Burkina Faso, and Serbia as well for yesterday. So this means that a lot of institutions, a lot of non-governmental organizations, they have requested to be a part of outside of Egypt, as I mentioned, on the 1st and the 2nd, and for the Egyptians within the country on the 4th and the 5th in voting for the Senate elections for 2025. And he thanked the National Elections Authority for their efforts exerted during not just those 4 days, a couple of days for the Egyptian expatriates and a couple of days for the Egyptians in 27 governorates, but for the months and the planning before the elections, Angie.
Yes, Ahmed, with you, Amal Mukhtar now. Ahmed, I would like to ask you concerning that Chancellor Ahmed bin Dari have said yesterday during a press conference that was held in the National Election Authority that there was not any kind of complaints or breaches of any kind or obstacles that faced the election process yesterday or today, but actually, Chancellor Ahmed bin Dari said that one of the complaints from the judges was that there was a high turnout and that made a kind of crowds in the committees or the polling stations. And Chancellor Ahmed bin Dari said that today they are going to provide all the poll stations with extra employees in order to monitor the entrance of the people. Give us an idea about this, please.
Yes, Amal, as you do know, I had an interview, a quick interview with Councillor Ahmed bin Dari after the closure of the polling stations for yesterday at about 10 p.m. Cairo local time for yesterday. And yesterday there were no really big problems or real big problems to be reporting, or obstacles or breaches. Maybe some of the elderly, they wanted to know more about their polling stations, where to vote, how to vote, the assistance that they could get, but this was solved for today. And we do know that any problem that is being reported to the National Elections Authority, it is being monitored and it is being solved as soon as possible, as quickly as possible. And for today we have not heard about any problems or breaches. Maybe in the upcoming 30 minutes at 4 p.m. Cairo local time, we are expecting another press conference by Councillor Ahmed bin Dari, the head of the Executive Committee of the National Elections Authority, to be telling us more about the updates for today, for the rest of today, or maybe for the past few hours from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m., which is the end of the break hour between the both timings for the voting process to be taking place in Egypt in general. This is for the breaches or the problems that could be reported from yesterday and until today. And regarding your question specifically, you've mentioned some governorates and some polling stations, they have witnessed a high turnout, and we have seen this during the interaction between Councillor Ahmed bin Dari and Councillor Hani Farouk in Cairo for today at 10 a.m. Cairo local time. He mentioned that the voting, it was smooth, there were no problems as usual. He had 544 polling stations with 8,500,000 voters, but yesterday they started at 9 a.m. and they finished at 10 p.m. This means that the voting process, it was prolonged for another hour, because we are used to be having the voting taking place from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. in the night, and this means that it was prolonged yesterday. Maybe the same process, the same procedure could be taken for today, as you mentioned, with even more employees and bigger logistical help from the National Elections Authority. Amal.
Yes, thank you very much, Ahmed. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Ahmed Nader, Nile TV's senior correspondent, updating us on the latest from the National Election Authority.
Ladies and gentlemen, we go to a short break and we'll be back. Do stay tuned.